Sorry? I said it. Or.
Okay, you can take it.
Okay, moving along on the agenda here, we can do the land acknowledgement.
All right. We acknowledge the original inhabitants of this area, the Snohomish people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered, and taken care of these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future that includes their people, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society. We'll do the labor acknowledgements too. We must acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horror of the transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We are indebted to their labor and their sacrifice, and we must acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed today.
Thank you. And now we'll open it up for public comments. If there is anybody out there. See if we got participants there down below.
There's only 2 participants, so that would mean no.
Wouldn't one of the participants be Carissa and another one be us? Oh, okay, all right. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any participants for public comments. And once, twice, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, and that's the approval of the previous meeting minutes. Jennifer sent out the April, May, July, and August minutes, and I hope that you all had an opportunity to look at them so that we can approve them. So before, I ask for a motion to approve the minutes, is there any discussion that anybody needs to have on any of the minutes that we're discussing? No? Then can we get a motion to approve all of the previous minutes, April, May, July, and August?
Hey, William?
Yes.
Really quick, sorry. No discussion about it, but I just noticed that there was a couple times where there were some names that were in there incorrectly. So I don't know if that matters or not, but like my name and I think your name a couple of times.
My name?
Yeah, you were listed as Commissioner Gaines. And I think I was listed as Roberts or something.
Okay.
Apologies, I'll fix those.
Okay. All right. So thanks for bringing that up. And do we have any other?
So if we approve them all at once, then I have to abstain from the whole thing because I wasn't here in April.
Okay.
I can vote on July and August, but I can't vote on April.
Okay. Then why don't we get a motion for accepting the April, May minutes first? Okay, and then we will entertain the July, August minutes. So I need a motion?
Motion. Go ahead.
Motion to approve the April, May minutes.
I second it.
Okay. So we got a motion from Sabora and a second by Rohit. On favor, 3 of us, aye. Okay. And,
Yeah.
oh.
No, that's fine. We've got 4.
Oh.
That's fine, yeah.
And for the July, August minutes, can I get a motion to accept July, August minutes with the name exceptions to be corrected?
I I need to approve the July and August minutes as amended.
Okay. And can I get a second?
I second it.
Okay, again, we have Anita that made the motion, Rohit, with the amendments, seconded. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Anybody say nay? We got 4, we got enough, all right. So be it, the meeting minutes for April, May, July, and August have been approved and accepted. All right, I'd like to turn this over to Steve Woodard.
For the record, Councilman Steve Woodard. We wanted, I don't know about tribute, but, because you're still here, what I'm very grateful for that. Hopefully you can hear me, Commissioner Richards, so I'm not talking loud enough. I need to come closer to the mic. So I'm gonna move down. Where is the mic in this room?
Oh, right here.
Let me switch out. I'm trying to.
I could move it here if you want.
I'll go right back after I have to say it. I just felt like, you probably don't want to be too close to me. I've been seeing thousands of people, it feels like. Being honest, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Perfect. So we wanted to take a moment here, it's listed as tribute, but really to pause and make sure that we said thank you for your leadership, former Chair Richards and former Vice Chair Dean. I don't know if you really had a chance to really stop and realize we've been at this almost 2 years. You have successfully off-boarded commissioners. You have successfully onboarded commissioners. And that's just the bureaucratic side of life as we go through minutes and kind of a record of who we are and where we've been. But we couldn't have done that without your leadership. So we wanted to pause because our last time together, we were offline, so we didn't actually get a chance to even do a transfer of power, if you will. At that point, folks would have been able to express their gratitude, which I will open the floor to them if they want to do so now. Not at this moment, but later in this quick tribute. But it's truly just to recognize that we have done some amazing things together, but again, through your leadership. And so thank you for that. I think about the fact that I still hear from residents who were very grateful for the listening sessions that we did. Needless to say, if you speed the timeline up and just look at how far we've come with proclamations, that you all not only encouraged us to do more proclamations, which is how we get to the one that we just recently upgraded to let's actually go and deliver them. I think the city was doing a wonderful job with tributing success and thank you to the community and to the residents, but these proclamations were really just going into the public record perhaps. So just the fact that you've even changed how we do business. More importantly, I think it's fair to say you have influenced the hiring practices. I hear offhand, not directly, but nonetheless, I hear through the channels of communication that the city is asking different questions now of how they're hiring folks. Maybe not to the level that you're looking for yet, but that you're making some inroads there, I hope is something that you can realize is amazing for such a young commission. And that's really to kind of tease a little bit and say, you're really real now. You can't see, you don't have a camera, but you have, oh, you do have a camera. You have a nameplate now, which sounds silly, but more importantly, you have name badges, which is really one of those things where now when you're out in the community, you really have always been representing us, but now you can do so even more proudly, knowing that the city acknowledges your existence. And I'm teasing a little bit with nameplates and all that, but names matter, which ultimately I think is one of the strengths I think you all brought to the table, that actions matter, names matter, and let's get all of those correct. So really just as the city council, I'm speaking on behalf of just saying thank you for everything that you've been doing, in particular just acknowledging your leadership. It's at moments like this where you don't have a succession plan that you find out if it was a commission, and last I checked, it was a unanimous vote to move in a direction that you yourselves said, hey, we're ready to watch an evolution happen here. But I'm glad that you're both still on the commission and will be able to add your particular perspective, but also your joint perspective. And if I may go so far as to say, the city is better off because of your contributions, and we look forward to the additional contributions you will make. That said, if your fellow commissioners would like to say any words, I'm going to bow out and move back to my space instead of keep infecting people. I'm not expecting you to do that. Would have wore a mask if I was serious, but I haven't seen a lot of people.
This phone's very, has a really good mic, so you can actually hear really well from across the room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we call it the space phone. So.
Gotcha.
Rohit, do you have anything you wanna present?
A little bit, but
I guess what when I think of you two, Carissa and Sabora, we all got in this thing together, and, we didn't know what we were getting into, and I know we had opportunity to talk to each other before, we actually got on the screen for the first time, and, then you all became, the leadership, and I appreciate what you've done for a whole bunch of reasons, but the biggest reason is something that Steve said early on when we started this, that everything that we were doing, we were making history for the city of Mountlake Terrace. And you all, as the chair and vice chair, was one of the biggest historical moments for the city of Mountlake Terrace because you were the first. You were the groundbreakers for leadership for this diversity, equity, and inclusion commission that the city has never seen before. And I think I've been talking to you all now more than prior because I realize, how much of your knowledge and the things that you all talk together about, I need, to kind of like keep us going in, a positive direction. And that's not going to stop. I appreciate, the fact that I know where you live at now, and I know you live right around the corner, and how helpful we all can be to one another. So, without regurgitating what Steve said, your leadership is invaluable, has been invaluable, it's going to continue to be invaluable. Just because the titles change doesn't mean, the expectation is going to change, if you will. Okay, so thank you very much. Anyone else?
I'll just say thank you. I mean, William and Steve, said, but just thank you for leading this group. I know we came to, and I joined a little late, but when the group came together, it was, here's the DEI Commission, let's figure out what needs to be done, how, when, where. I think we've come a long way since then. The community, the city, we do have a long way to go too. So thank you for leading the group. Thank you for being a part of the group. And we want to, take it to the next level as a group. So thank you again.
Thank you for welcoming me. Such a tough to know. Thank you. I appreciate your warm welcome when I joined.
Okay, with that, we met with Ricky last month and had some conversation about the whole communication, with DEI group and, how we can assist her in her work as well as how she can assist us in our endeavors. So she agreed to come and talk to us and kind of like put some things in perspective for us to kind of help us, do what we need to do and help her do what she needs to do. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Ricky.
Hi, everybody. So my role at the city is I do a lot of outreach, a lot of communications, a lot of brand storytelling, meeting with people, listening. And one of the successes we've been able to do is like the commission was new, well, I was new, and we hadn't had someone here with my skill set yet. And so I think we were really feeling that out of what was possible, and Carissa and Sabora were really able to help provide the city with some insights and thinking with an equity lens to recognize some of these cultural moments. And ideally, when we put those out there, people see it and they say, oh, I'm represented here. Like, I'm part of this community. When I look around, I see that the city is aware and elevating my presence. And so we'd like to see that continue, but when we're working within the constraints of government and I'm basically reporting to every department, the key is really planning ahead. And so the city has so many tools to get information out that I think sometimes we forget about all of them. And so I made this little chart, and it's really the difference of if you want to just blast out 2 sentences or if somebody wants to write an essay or an article for the newsletter. And so it's good to just look at these and think about different audiences and different ways to reach those audiences. And this is really a place where we can try new things. We can publish a poem. We can publish a beautiful photo. Like we can try. I think what's really important is that the direction and feedback is coming from your organization, so that I'm not always the voice, because that's often not appropriate in a DEI space for someone that looks like me to come in and decide that I'm deciding what we're all saying. And so I think what would happen is that as you all come together and figure out your long-term goals, that when you you have a holiday you want to mark or something you want to say, that we can help get that out there. Because when it comes down to it, our superpower is that we can blast it out and that we have that audience. And I really think it's important for our role to be amplifying the message, or we can help craft it, but we shouldn't always be in our offices as the city, as government, deciding what that message is and what the most important message is. And one thing that Virginia and I had talked about, that I haven't yet briefed Stefan on, but we had talked about maybe doing a call to all city employees for 2023 of, here's some of the holidays that the commission would like to mark. If you feel comfortable speaking publicly about any of these cultural moments, let us know. Because what I can't do, since I work in the city manager's office, there's a power imbalance, and so I cannot go up to city employees and say, hey, I think you identify as this for no additional pay. Can I direct you to speak on behalf of that community? So I have to be really careful that I'm respectful and sensitive. And what I've really enjoyed is having help from the commission reviewing materials to make sure that they are honoring those sensitivities and looking at it from different perspectives. So that's the main thing, is that really we have these opportunities, we have the channels for the information. It's getting the direction on what that is and what that looks like, and making sure that it's going through a process that is respectful and productive. I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, let's go around the horn and, let's speak freely about, what's here in front of us and what your thoughts are.
I have a question. When we're talking about city council members or city employees speaking about a holiday, is that from their own vantage point, or are they connecting with somebody in the city space, like a cultural leader or a religious leader, to share that experience with them? I feel like there's a big difference between somebody speaking just from their own platform about a holiday versus, utilizing that moment to connect with and then speak together with a leader from our community.
It could be both or either. I think the first step is the connection and knowing the right way to make that connection, because again, when I am representing the government and I go to a place and we're issuing their permits and I ask them, to do this emotional labor, and how do I do that without making assumptions about who they are or how they identify or what their comfort level is? And just like we experienced with some of the Muslim holidays, is that there are real safety concerns. And I have to be careful that I'm not just blindly bumping into those. And, there's places where couples can't go and hold hands and feel comfortable, and I can't just come in and ignore all of that history. But I think that's the way that we could really work together, because I think those personal testimonials can be so powerful.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying instead of the city doing that, you are requesting we do that. So we either reach out to people in the community or the religious leaders and then get a testimony or get a few lines that you guys will be comfortable sharing it in a social media channel or wherever, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and usually with each person it's different. If they want to write, that's fine. If they want me to interview them and write it, that's fine too. There's room for lots of voices.
I'm hearing like two things, and I'm wondering if they're two different things. I'm wondering if, one thing that I'm hearing is, can the DEIC lead or be the voice of this request And I'm reading it as, well, we're requesting that this happens, and then you're blurring it, you're putting it out there. And then the other thing I'm hearing is that the DEI are going out and finding these individuals and saying, are you willing to do this? And I don't know that they're the same thing or they're a combination of or whatever, so I guess that's kind of like what I'm looking for clarification for.
I think it's both or either. I felt really good about one that Sabora helped me with, where she made the connection. I met with that person, we had her review it, and we had them review it, so they were not be surprised by what was published.
Mm-hmm.
And that, in that case, worked well, but that, in that time, we had lead time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other comments?
I have a different question. So all these channels of communications, if anything related to the DEI comes up during these, for example, the virtual coffee, I don't know if others, I sometimes am not on those meetings, but if something comes up, is there a way for you to, or is there a process for you to take those questions and send it over to the commission?
Definitely. In recent memory, I don't think those have come up, but we've also talked too about having ones with themes where we invite people and we know that we'll have experts on topics like roads or permits. But really it's just random who comes and what their concerns are that day, and usually it's, you know, who ran their stop signs that morning or...
But if there are issues that are connected to the DEI, I'm hoping we'll hear it from you guys.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
Has, the DEIC, have they, or a few of you, actually participated in a virtual coffee?
Yep.
Monthly coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to introduce the commission?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't here early on, so I wasn't sure exactly how you've kind of reached out via these channels.
I thought me and Chief Carl actually met.
Okay.
For the first time, and whatever.
I'm assuming that you're our interim city manager, but we've not officially met. I'm Sabora.
I'm acting. I don't know if I'm interim.
Titles, you know, yes.
Sometimes I feel like I'm not.
And I'm sorry, you're Jennifer.
Oh, I'm Jennifer Jokey, the city clerk. And one quick note is the city newsletter, you all get it at home. It comes out every 2 months.
It all has to be planned out 1 month in advance. You have 100 to 500 words. If you ever had, you know, a message together as a group that you wanted to route through Stefan, something to think about.
CM Weekly.
That is the city manager's weekly update.
Right now, we're going through a transition time, but generally every single Monday or over the weekend, that comes out, and you can sign up to get a text or email, and that's where they have all the road projects, what's new at the rec, the coffee special at the rec, major land projects. It's really like a good way to just stay abreast of everything.
Most of the updates weekly really relate to Parks and Recs and police. However, you know, we do insert things like the budget process is beginning, starting this day. So we try to supplement it with that kind of stuff as well.
And events. So we're trying to do a better job of getting information about events out earlier, which you gotta save the date.
Yeah. And social media is both Twitter and Facebook. Does the city have other social media?
We have Instagram. I would love to, if you, I think several of you just shared beautiful photos that we've shared, and it can just be, you know, nice things you come across in the city. And then our Instagram is growing really fast. Twitter tends to be more government, regional, partner agencies watching, and then we just actually started a LinkedIn last week. So we hope to be using that to, for recruiting. For, right? Yeah.
Can you share the LinkedIn?
Would you like me to also share the link to the Notify Me page where you can sign up for what you want to get? Because these alerts.
I'll sign up for all of these. I just didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you getting the new alerts about road projects and noise and stuff? Okay.
They're for our guest speakers that have spoken at meetings previously.
And I think I want to add to this, you know, for, on the record that, you know, we can get a whole lot of ideas and a whole lot of information if we're tuned in to these things right here. And then we have opportunity, if we really want it, to be able to make sure that the community not only gets this information also, but they get it from our perspective. You know, so if we get an alert about something, or for instance, when they had put in when they had on the, I think it was the Center Manager Weekly, that they were looking for the deputy city clerk before you were hired. You know, I took that information, I posted it on Facebook and put it on a couple of other groups and said, this is an opportunity to perhaps, you know, get folks who ordinarily yada, yada, yada. And I got a lot of responses as a result of it. That's how we can reach others, you know, by just, you know, working with whatever's already in front of us. You know what I mean? So it's important, I think, that, you know, we see where we have these opportunities, you know, to be visible, you know, without being face to face with people, you know, because I think we all can say that as people get to know us, when we post things, regardless of what we post, they're going to see us in a whole bunch of different, with a bunch of different hats, you know, parent, president, DEI commissioner, BOA, WW, you know, city council member. Whenever we post something, people are going to be thinking about all of those things and wondering, you know, where is it coming from? You know, so I think, you know, these opportunities are great, but we have to, you know, avail ourselves to them, make sure that we're signed up.
I have a question. So earlier on, we had a challenge where we would want to repost what the city was posting, say on Facebook, but we couldn't hack into the algorithm. For some reason, a lot of us wouldn't get that, like we wouldn't see the post for an upcoming DEI meeting until like 2 to 5 days afterwards, and then obviously it's too late. Any tips on getting onto that algorithm so it shows up more in our pages?
That's a good question. Well, engagement is always going to boost it if people are liking it, if people are sharing it. I mean, we'll have multiple posts a day that get 1,000 impressions. If it's got a beautiful picture, it might get 3,000, and that's pretty powerful. The other thing too is that, like I have a friend who always posts like really beautiful, positive things about her family, and so I have tagged her page to show up first when she posts, so it always shows up at the top. So that is also one option, but we can't really control like the Facebook formula.
Is it acceptable and or possible for the city to tag people? So if there's a post for an upcoming DEI meeting, that you can actually tag the commissioners?
Concern about, so with city employees, I don't like to tag their personal accounts because I don't like tying in the public records with their personal account. And then also, from my background of being around crime, is I also worry about like safety concerns, and then all of a sudden your private page and your private life, the whole public has access to. And if somebody came along that was malicious, like I wouldn't want my personal account, and because I like that line between my work life and my private life. Feel free to jump in here.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm not on any social media, so for a reason, I just don't like it.
But when it's like
You don't have that problem.
Well, I want to connect with people face to face, not through social media, just a personal.
if it's a partner organization or something like that, I like to. And then also, you're in the position where if someone's reaching out to you and communicating and it's about city business, then you're potentially opening your personal account to public records, which is not a good place to be.
Sure. It brings up a contrast between kind of what you're talking about and reposting and wearing that hat on social media with your personal page. And I can definitely see.
If somebody ever wanted to take a little video and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, come to our meeting tonight, like that we can post if it goes through the proper channel.
Sure. Okay. Any other thoughts, ideas?
Quick question about the website views. That's a good number. Do you have it broken by pages? Do we know the DEI page?
Yes, and I provided that to Carissa last year. It's pretty quick to run that report. We can also do it by search terms, so we know what people are searching for. It's mostly passports and swim lessons.
Surprise.
Swim lessons, they're just so hard to get into. Oh my gosh.
If you have teenagers in your life that want to be lifeguards and swim instructors, please send them our way.
I tell my classes.
Thank you. If you ever want someone from the city to come pitch.
Yes. Actually, I have a few swimmers in my class. Definitely stand to hear it.
Yeah, we want to get back into career days and stuff. It's just been challenging with the school district and COVID rules and.
Everything's gonna change October 31st.
If you ever want an engineer, a police officer, someone, just let me know. We can make that happen.
Is EMT also a connection through the city, or do we go through South County Fire?
Or I can connect you if you want. But to answer your question, yeah, we have paid staff. I'm happy to share those.
Well, you just said something that threw a question into my mind in terms of, you know, our interaction with you. You said, you know, I can connect you. What is the protocol? You know, where is the line for us requesting things from you versus through Jennifer to you or through Stefan to you, or, you know, how does that communication flow supposed to work?
I think that's a great question because it's changed so much in the last 6 months. And we kind of had a flow that was working, and then now enough staff have changed that we're relearning. So, if Stefan is your staff liaison, I think he likes to be CC'd on everything unless he's indicated otherwise. And, I report to the city clerk, but I also report to the city manager. But there are I think there are times where, like today, where I just called you to check a fact.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think we're still feeling that out, and we just have to communicate, but mainly to make sure that your staff liaison is in the loop.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, if you're communicating to any city staff, you have to make sure that you're communicating as a commissioner. Because when you start, sharing things that are personal, requesting, certain things be done for personal reasons, we're not able to help facilitate those. So you always want to check in with your commission, just make sure that whatever communication is taking place, it's on behalf of the body.
And the other thing too is the website now is mainly both of us, and so I would CC, like, you know, website things, I would include both of us. Our website admin left, and now you're looking at website admin.
And since bringing Ricky on board, it's just all of our outreach, communication, news releases, everything. We just seem to be so much more on top of it because we have someone dedicated for that purpose. And so our outreach has really improved.
You know, what I'm hoping from this, and anybody's willing to chime in, what I'm hoping, what will come from all of this is, you know, to allow us, you know, to kind of grow as a commission, to be visible, you know, and to feel comfortable being visible, you know, and to be willing to, you know, because we've got these different avenues to express what it is that we're trying to do, to get people willing to talk to us, and more importantly, us willing to go out and talk to others, you know, because they start to recognize us, maybe on some of these sites, you know, and they're not just looking at you like, who are you, what are you, but because they've seen us, you know, do and say, you know, or they've seen us in pictures and things like that. So this is, to me, should be a big confidence builder for us, you know.
We have the platform.
Mm-hmm.
I will just add too that anything shared to that community page, because that's such a large active group, that always boosts engagement. But if I do it from my personal account, then we're in that gray area of, am I representing the city?
Oh, yeah, that community, I know that community, I like Terrace community webpage. Once you get started on that thing, you know, people, I mean, I've only been here 2 years, and, you know, we walk around, my wife and I, and because of some of the things that we've done in the city, and, you know, I'll try to contribute, you know, people recognize us sometimes and say, you're the folks that did this, and now you're the one that's doing this, and, you know, it's like, whoa, you know, in just 2 years. So, you know, we gotta take advantage of what's out there, you know, in order to find out what it is that is needed in the community, because we can't do it by just, you know, sitting in the mirror and asking ourselves, what do they need, you know? We need people to tell us.
Or when you're visiting those businesses, I mean, again, forethought, but, you shoot, you know, 30 seconds of vertical video, and then you get that to me, and I can stitch it together and add some text and make an Instagram reel that might thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
What would that video message contain?
I think that's the beautiful question that we're talking about, where I have the channels and I have the platform, and I think we work together to figure out what those messages are and when.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the age that we live in, it's the visual that's really awesome. I say that as a writer, that more people are gonna look at the visuals and are gonna read the text.
I think, you know, Stefan, you can attest, you know, when we went to Las Escuelas, you know, we sat down and, you know, a person sharing stuff with us that I wasn't expecting, you know, personal stuff about the business, the life being here, and, you know, people that, you know, the owner knew. Same thing when we went, you know, to my salon, it was the same thing, you know, we're talking about friends that, you know, circles of friends, and it was just, you know, and yeah, you mentioned this video, I think of, whoa, you know, there's so much that could be shared by, doing something like that, you know. I got some thank yous, you know, from some of those posts that we did, from people I don't even know, you know, people I don't even know. I got a post from Facebook from someone in Houston, Texas, you know, that was like, wow, that was great, you know, what you did. Just a thank you, you know, nothing elaborate. So it can be exciting, it can be, you know, to use this stuff. Anything else? Oh, we got Ricky here regarding this stuff here. Carissa, you good? Well, while we still got her undivided attention, another thing on the docket here is this commission photo discussion. You know, unfortunately, we're missing two people. You know, the reason why this is on the agenda, because, you know, we do have, you know, a new member, and I don't even know if you're in the group.
I am, yeah.
And so we was hoping to get another group photo, you know, and it's kind of, again, hard to. Ricky, why don't you tell us what you need for time?
So, because especially if we're talking nights or weekends, I mean, I need a way that, like, I plan my personal life. I mean, maybe, and with 7 different people, I mean, maybe 8 weeks notice, and I have commitments most Monday through Wednesday nights. And then we also have to think about the location of the photo and the light. And we're going into the big dark, and most people don't look good under fluorescent lights, or even LED, sorry. But, I mean, the lights flash different colors every second, and, like, it's not ideal for photography. But to respect everybody's workspace, we'll make it work on a weekend or an evening. It's just, we just need the lead time. Okay. And I think that's the hard part.
Are you saying inside photography is out, or are you saying we can make it?
The other thing too is we can just do individual mugshots.
Can we poll everyone? Because I have a feeling, I don't know your schedule, but for you and me and Carissa, and I think you, Hannah, and Sam, we might all be able to do a weekday day that we could put together. Because I'm free most weekdays before noon.
If that works for everybody, then that's doable, and then we have light.
Right.
But then, you know, there's always weather and smoke and.
Well, that's going away Friday. No more smoke.
And with 7 people and going into COVID flu season, I mean, maybe we pick 2 dates and the other one's a backup.
I know somehow or another, I don't remember how I did it, but I did that whole calendar thing. I have no idea how I did it, but I did it, and it worked because we got responses. But I will try that again. I don't even know who showed me how to do it.
Doodle?
Huh? Doodle? Yeah, that's what it's called, Doodle, yeah.
Yeah, Sam sent you the link.
Yeah, Sam sent me to Doodle.
And you've got a narrow window of time before it's the holidays.
That might not look great, because we're outside in the background to highlight a single holiday. Michelle.
Okay, so we'll, pull our availability and try to compare it to your availability, but probably you're not available during the weekday, right?
We can look at specific days, just so we can get it done.
And we'll see if we can, you know, get this done. 'Cause I don't know, and I'm open to anything else, but yeah, I think a group picture is important. You know, the first group picture that we took was an historical picture, and I think that, and I keep remembering what Steve talked about with everything we do. You know, everything we do, you know, we going into Mountlake Terrace history because it's a first. And, you know, the second group picture, the second group, to me, is as important as the first group, you know, and,
We've had a second group picture, this would be our third one.
What was the first one? I've only been in one. Huh?
One with Gary,
Yeah,
and then you had to redo it.
this is okay, and now this will be our third. We're there.
You sure?
I'm
All
positive.
right, okay. The one I remember is the one right out here.
We did both of them out here.
And from a communications perspective, people connect with faces, like that's the magic in photos, is people doing something. And for me, when I'm promoting the meetings, having that, I think, is better than, you know, text in a box.
All right, so we will work and get that done, okay? Next thing on the agenda is Ricky, thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
Information, Ricky.
Thank you, Ricky.
Should I leave the camera? It's my city phone, so you can just, there's nothing secret on it. Is that what you? Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is, I'm gonna turn it over to Sabora, because she shared some information about, Native American Month, and I think we should have that discussion with that coming up, even though, you know, it's come right around the corner, but with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Sabora.
Okay, there is a link, did somebody send it to Stefan here just a little bit ago to your email?
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
I did a, now look at my emails. Okay.
I don't know where the link is. Oh.
Here it is, right there.
Okay, it's working. Let me change this. Mouse is not a very good one, but we're getting there. Yes, worked.
Okay, so November 1st is the start of a Native American Heritage Month, and I actually learned this from an email for the educators of color for Edmonton School District, that this website specifically will have a story of a historical indigenous figure that is often not well known, though it should be. And so for every day of the month, it's going to highlight a different story and share really crucial information that has not been shared enough or is known enough. So I think William and I had a conversation about potentially trading off days as commissioners and posting or sharing these stories into our own kind of social media pages and getting more of that awareness and more of these stories out into the public, into friends, into hoping that they are then able to share it with other friends and it becomes more common knowledge. And so within the 7 of us, if we trade off days, then it's really only 4 of the days of the month, plus maybe 1 or 2 bonus days for a couple people to share it, to highlight it, to speak about it. And in a lot of these cases, so I did this with Black History Month and a website that did this a very similar thing, sharing stories that when I read them, I really recognized that these should be stories that everybody knows. They're very impactful in the history of this country, especially, that it's really a tragedy that they're not more well known. And so I started sharing them regularly through my social media page with the school district. And, got a lot of feedback and a lot of people appreciative for learning this information. A lot of people asking, how can I get that website? I would like to have that for myself for next year as well. So I think that this can have a similar impact, potentially. And so I think that starting November 1st is when they'll start sharing those stories, that this is the website to find it.
Comments? Questions? One of the things that me and Sabora was talking about, like I said, they do a story, they're gonna do a story every day of the month. You know, say, 1, you're number 1, 2, 3, 4, Hannah 5, Sam 6, I'm 7, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then, you know, the cycle goes again, do, you know, so that every 7th day, you know, you're posting this story or doing whatever it is that which is the story to, on behalf of the city and the DEI and yourself, you're getting this information out. So it'd be kind of fun because, you know, we're able to get this stuff out, share it with people, and it's constant, you know, and it's something subtle, but I think it would be big action because it's going to be constant every day. And, you know, we'll all be learning something, and people will be learning something about us, you know, by doing this, you know, and so I just really want to hear what yays, nays, or expound on, you know, something that, because I was trying to think of what can we do, you know, what should we do? Do anything, you know? The question is always there. There's so much to do, you know, and what can we do? And what else other can we do? And that's what, you know, I think we need to be thinking about, and we'll bring that up in a little bit, but we need to be thinking about as these different things come up, how can we follow the mission statement that's on the bottom of the agenda? You know, how can we put that into action? Okay, so.
Question, when you say social media, you mean Facebook or?
Whatever your social media platform is. I don't have Instagram or TikTok or whatever those other things are, you know. I don't have those, you know. I do have Facebook, you know. Some people have multiple, or Instagram. I'm sorry?
Long-term goal, that might be a good thing to think about.
What's that?
Because if we're reaching a diverse lens, there's ages across the spectrum here in Mountlake Terrace. And so the high schools run Instagram accounts and TikTok feeds. That's a lot of how students are sharing information, and Facebook is for us older people.
Well, you know, I agree. I absolutely agree. I'm not gonna do certain platforms. I'm not gonna, you know, you gotta, you know, just like Stephen said. I mean, we have personal reasons why we don't. But if we got the opportunity to whatever it is that, you know, that we're comfortable with, that, you know, we can have an audience with, then this is one of those things that she was talking about earlier that we can do, you know.
I think this might be a good, this is a great idea, by the way, but I think this might be a good one to send to Ricky to post through the city social media channels. I think one, goes to, you know, keeping personal social media separate from whatever we are doing for the commission, for the city, you know, for this work. There might be some concerns there. But just in general, I think this will be a good one for the city to post out and say, again, I don't know if I have enough friends, either on Facebook or any of the social media channels. I'm not super active on social media. So, you know, whenever on that 7th day when my turn comes, that's almost like no one saw it. That's one. The second thing I think is also I'm wondering why we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Why don't we post, everyone posts, like your friends are different from her friends, are different from my friends on social media. So if we, you know.
One of the things that I remember when we first started this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that on our own page, we can send information about things that, I mean, this isn't, and I'm probably gonna say this wrong, necessarily commission business. Might be saying it wrong, but we can post things on our own personal pages, you know, and individuals that are our friends can see it and they can share it. I can share stuff on your personal page that you send, you know, if I wanted to. Am I correct or not? I mean,
I don't know if they can, I'm thinking if people want to.
sorry?
I'm thinking if people want to, not.
Right.
There's
They
a
don't
gap
have to.
between desire and, space to actually put in that work every single day and commit to doing it every single day.
Exactly.
So
So
some of
it's
it-
not the work that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the desire. Just like Ricky was saying, people might want to differentiate their personal social media activities with the commission social media activities. So, you know, in that case, they may not be super comfortable posting DEI-related stuff on their social media.
So we're talking about commissioners.
Yes, I'm talking about commission.
And commissioners should just say that, you know? They should just say that, you know? If we're talking about some commissioners that don't want to do that on it, then they should just say that. I think we should, no one's going to give anybody, you know, feel bad if someone doesn't want to put it on their own. I'm just speaking, if I'm speaking incorrectly, let me know, but I think that, you know, if someone's not in agreement that this is a way to get that information out and share it with their friends, then say so. Jennifer?
I don't know if I'm really supposed to speak, but I help maintain this page, so I'm happy to put whatever you want on that page. I'm not sure that it's realistic to ask Ricky to post something every day.
Right.
Sure. So, but I'm happy to put, I tried to update this the other day, by the way, and so if you see anything, please let me know, but if you scroll down a little bit, I think. There's room to put stuff with the resources, there's some other spaces where we can put things, so I'm happy to help update that page. Maybe I can talk to Ricky about putting a little, calendar.
Like a current events tab.
Yes, like something like that, and I think that would be realistic, but every day, her posting, I don't think.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I wasn't
Oh,
saying
okay.
every day. I was saying
Okay.
just put the website on
Yes,
the,
got
yeah,
it,
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely not
I know.
every day. Yeah.
Yes, we can definitely put that on there.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna address that, I don't think it makes sense for Ricky to post on the city platform, the Native American history information every single day. I think that that sends a message to the city that's maybe not our intent, because it's starting something new and it may or may not perpetuate. For the city to share it, as a resident, if I didn't know that the DEI was involved, I'd be like, why are you doing this? What's happening? And I don't,
Actually, I get what you're saying, that it's DEI work, but it's not DEI work, right? That it's us as individuals wanting to promote this awareness of these stories that need to be shared more. And so you don't necessarily have to say, you know, on behalf of the city of Mountlake Terrace, I would like to share these stories. You can just say, you know, this is the story for November 4th is, you know, a captivating story, and I think that, you know, the story should get out there. Whatever you want to say, because you want that story to be upheld or uplifted or empowered.
True, but that's again a personal thing, right? Like, I might have other things that I want to put, but discussing what we want to do as the DEI commission. So I'm thinking anything we do can go on the DEI website or the Mountlake, because as a commission, we are representing the city of Mountlake Terrace, DEIC. So personally, we can do whatever, I mean, you know, we can put once every 7 days, you know, every day. That's up to each of us. I don't know if I further confuse you or.
A little bit. I'm not really sure. Is it, so I think the original idea was just that, you know, we're all kind of weaving a connection to help amplify these stories, right? And so Mondays, you know, Deborah is sharing a story, and Tuesdays, Rohit's sharing a story. So it's not necessarily doing it on behalf of the DEI, but we are also residents and promoters of making sure that these stories get out there as a group of people who is often overlooked and not included. So I'm confused as far as you're saying whether you want to be involved kind of in that chain or you don't want to be involved.
I'm just saying we should probably keep our personal social media activities separate from the DEIC social media activities. But we can take it, we don't need to, we can.
There are no DEIC social media activities. We can.
I'm saying that's what we need to promote further. Instead of doing it through our personal pages, we need to promote these activities or, you know, these events.
I think of,
As a commission, rather than as personal, like as Sabora doing it, or Rohit doing it, or William doing it, we need to do it as, I mean, we can do it personally and that's fine, but we need to do more of it as a commission.
I think of what we did last week with the city council, with the restaurants and the pictures and the postings on Facebook, you know, and I know Ricky is putting together a story about all of that, with all of those pictures that's gonna get promoted and the things that she's using, those two different, you know, ways of that information getting out. And in my mind, I think that if hadn't gotten posted, stuff that I participated in hadn't gotten posted on Facebook, nobody would have known about it. And no one would have known about it. You know, people who never look at this will never look at this because they don't even live in Mountlake Terrace. Maybe they live in Shoreline. You know, maybe they live in Massachusetts. You know, maybe they live in Vermont. You know, would never know what we did. And to me, I think that is what the purpose of this here, you know, to give us opportunity to expound, you know, where, you know, those boundaries, push those boundaries out of where folks are going to be able to see, one, these stories about Native Americans, and two, I'll say, like I said earlier, whenever, you know, I do something for the community, people who know me know that I'm also a commissioner. I can't hide from that unless I get fired. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's never going to go away. Whatever I post, whenever I post it, that's going to go away. So there is no, to some degree, there is no separation. You know, there is no separation on some of the things that I may post. You know, because if they're community oriented, whether it's a DEIC project or something that I seen that I felt worthwhile doing because I think the community would like to see it for some particular group, it's going to be there. Anita?
Well, I'm hearing that from both of you that there are different ways we want to show up as part of the commission. And so just like we get to choose whether we're in this room or we're on Zoom or if we're wearing masks when we're talking or we're not, that we get to choose how we show up. So you're asking if we want to show up in this way by posting these things. And if not, that's okay? Or am I missing something?
I think we need a group conscious, you know, is this a group project or is it not going to be a group project? You know, because again, yes.
I feel like you're all walking around the same thing. Let me also remind you, unless it's different in council, there's 7 of you for a reason, and you need 4 people after a motion to do something. So right now, you're just talking, you haven't actually proposed to do anything. And put that back in place.
Sure.
Now, if you decide to say, hey, I want to take this out, you can first do it to see if anybody wants to have this conversation. There's different ways you can be bureaucratic here, or Robert's rule. That as well. It's kind of putting that out there, otherwise it's going to just keep going around and around. Let's say you decide on a 4-3 vote, we're going to do this. You can then have another discussion, formally or not, to say who is going to participate. You don't all have to do it. That's really the main message here. That doesn't have to be all 7 of you. It could be 6 of you. It could be 3 of you, but you need 4 of you to say, yes, you can do it, right? So just to have an actual act out of the forum here. So in that regard, I would say maybe it's better to put it through that sieve first and see, you want to have this conversation. Seems like you do because you're having it, but it's, you know, it's still, you're not going to get to the formal act of, we're going to do this without the motions and all that. You might as well put it on the table. And then, like I say, once you've decided if it's worth doing, you are missing 2 voices, as you've already acknowledged before. You can then take it back to the level, who wants to be a part of that? Because I'm kind of listening to your point, it's like, so you do this, and you've got 6 followers. I'm just using the language, I don't know all the platforms, but how useful is that? Well, I would actually reflect back, well, what you don't have to think about is your page. You could think of it as posting, say, on the Mountlake Terrace community page that has thousands, where you still only have 6 followers, but you put something there. Your point is, you don't want necessarily, I think, you don't want those people now going, oh, you must be somebody, let me follow you, because you're not actually going to do anything after this. But that's got a mix, kind of like a mixed perception of why you're doing something. But for some of us, I think you all know, I would love to be part of this, so I'm just putting that out there as your liaison. I would support this, but I wouldn't use my page per se. I would be using the community page to let people see it, right? I mean, actually, I got a lot of followers. I wouldn't use a page, but you get the point.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, I want to promote it. I just want to use the community page.
You just made a really good point. Because I remember I posted something on the community page, and everybody I knew saw it anyway. Yeah. You know, so I didn't have to do it from my page. You know, I think the job thing, you know, I posted on the community page, and I think I posted it on the art page, the art page, and everybody that I knew outside of those communities actually saw it because I was posting it. Right, that's how it works.
Not necessarily.
No?
So if it's a private group, then they won't see it because only people within the approved group will see
Okay.
it. But if it's a public group, then it's a possibility.
The other part, make sure you're formal.
Okay, all right. So, you know, to that point, you know, again, so that we, why don't we put a motion on the floor as to, you know, where we want to go with this discussion? Do we want to make a recommendation, or do we want to make a motion on where we stand on, do we want to do this type of project as a group? And then we could take it to the next steps as far as, you know, amending or making a motion going forward.
But just to be clear, through our personal pages versus through the city page.
I'm sorry?
Just to clarify, through our personal pages versus through the city page. Because I'm not saying we should not do these kind of projects. I'm saying personal page versus city page.
So I think now we're talking about semantics and there still hasn't been a motion.
It has to be a city employee, but Chris had something to say.
I just wanted to hop in really quick. I think maybe before, and well, actually, I don't know if this is a before or after a motion, but to me, it sounds like we're kind of getting into the area of trying to pit like equity versus equality. And in this conversation, meaning, I think that we need to clarify like, that when we're talking about doing this as a group project, are we talking about specifically everyone has to follow this same thing, like everyone's contribution has to be equal? Or are we going to be considering this conversation in terms of this person is comfortable with this, that's what they're going to do, this person is comfortable with this, that's what they're going to do? Because I feel like right now we're kind of hedging into everyone has to contribute equally, and I don't think that's staying true to what like we're here to be equitable, and obviously not everyone is comfortable maybe showing up in that way, in that way. So if they're not, then maybe there's another way we can work.
Good point. So
I move that we, as the DEIC, promote this program at the level in which every commissioner is comfortable participating. By posting on social media.
Second? I think. Now we put it through a
So now there's a discussion.
Well, you're right, there's been a motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Now, do you want to talk about it?
Well, we gotta
Motion
go.
on the floor, we can talk about the semantics of the words that I use. And we're making progress.
Okay, all right, then let's have a discussion about the semantics. Because,
I think it was well worded, because it was, you included in there to the level of their personal comfort. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I don't think you used those
Yeah.
exact words, but
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But the meaning, I think, remains. So that if you are not comfortable participating, that you are not required to do so. But the ones that are comfortable participating will still carry it forward.
well, I don't think that's what she's saying, is it? Or I don't think that's what the motion is, at your level of, I don't think anyone has said that they don't want to participate, right?
Well, I think we're making an assumption by saying whether people want to participate or not. And we have two commissioners who aren't here. So I think by making it as the level of which we're comfortable of participating, it's not forcing equity or it's not forcing,
Inequitable participation.
thank you, yes.
Clarification. Which program are you talking about participating in? The program itself is not clear to me.
Thank you. Sharing a story a day from the Native American Heritage Month.gov website to our personal social media pages. And however, getting these stories out there and sharing them within the community in however we see fit. If that means you print the article and you give it to your child and it's your bedtime story, great. And if it's on your social media page, then great. If you post it in the community page. It's taking action on the street, sharing the story, promoting the story, getting the message out there some way.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Yeah, sorry, can you clarify what the motion is again? Because
Yeah.
second half again, you change, I think it changed, yeah.
I'm gonna ask you now to narrow that statement down so that we have a motion, okay?
Okay,
Sorry.
so the secretary, if you can capture what I said.
Here's what I have. The motion is to promote this program, quotation, parentheses, sharing a story a day from the referred to website, which I'll fill in, at the level that each commissioner is comfortable.
That is my motion. And
that has been seconded.
Further discussion? Or are we ready to vote?
Anybody have any discussion that they still need to be on the table? Okay, so then I think we're prepared to vote, right? So there's a motion on the floor, it's been seconded. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye, or raise your hand. Okay, all the members present are saying yes, then so be it. Now, I guess, along with that, question that I think needs to be brought up now then is, because we're not asking, first of all, we got two members that are not here, so we can't assign, anything to anybody. But at the same time, we need to be able to assure that what we want done, which is a story every day, being shared in some way, is actually going to happen and not going to get missed because no one is saying, well, I'm going to take one, yada, yada, yada.
I like the point that Benita brought up in that it doesn't have to be social media. You can print out a page and take it to your neighbor and have a conversation with them, and now you have amplified that story. To, Stephen's experience of preferring face-to-face conversation over social media, I don't think that we should disregard it just because you're having a conversation with one or two people versus however many Facebook can reach or Instagram can reach or whatever you're choosing. So I think that really broadens people's ability to say yes. Because if they're reading a story and sharing it with their children as for a bedtime story, you're still amplifying, you're still promoting, because I can almost guarantee you that child's going to go to school the next day and tell their friends.
Other comments? Thank you.
I agree. And also, I mean, it goes without saying, we don't all have the same friends on Facebook, right? Like we all move in different circles. And so even if we're like pushing to get, a story heard a day, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're like, that people are all going to see every single story. So I think it's important, like so we're saying, just that we're just talking about it, and also posting if we're comfortable or whatever it is. But it's just, I think it's more about making that conscious effort to do this versus like checking the box of someone has shared this every single day kind of a thing.
I'm also hearing that you want some accountability, so if I say that I'll do something, I've actually done it. So what if I send a sign-up genius out and I'll take a day or a couple of days, or if you're out of town, then maybe you don't want to do that time. And then however it's shared, you've taken a responsible ownership of that day and sharing a story from there.
Agree. I believe that if we say we're gonna do something, we should do it, and, one, because then the act gets done, and two, gives us credibility, and and the bottom line is that we are trying to promote something for a particular group, and it's easy to say what I'm going to do, but I want to know, what did you do? And I think that's important. I think that's important for all of us, because I think that we are constantly asking ourselves, are we doing enough? Did we do enough? Or what have we done? And this isn't necessarily this huge event, but it's an event, and all these little events that we do, are all going to be put together and said, this is what our group did, for these many different groups. So yeah, I think accountability is important. We all have to be accountable to something.
I'm going to challenge the idea of a sign-up genius or any version of it. I think that we are signing up to be accountable just in the fact that 5 of us present voted yes. So I think as adults who are showing up part of this commission, that should be enough. And I think if we get into the level of you have to sign up for specific dates, get a little bit into a micromanagement of what are you showing up to do and at what level, and I'm going to come back to you on Tuesday and say, well, you signed up on Monday, what did you do? Tell me.
So I agree with that, and I think there's no way to verify if somebody says they'll do something, whether they actually did it or not. So there's no real way to verify it. I think just the fact that we are all here and we all said yes, that we will do it, I think that should be good enough.
So are we saying, therefore, we're not going to each take a different day?
Not necessarily. We can, as chair, maybe you have a conversation with Hannah and Sam tomorrow and say, are you able to be present and show up for this, taking a day? Then each one of us take a day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then that's how we're accountable for it, or that's how we share it. Or maybe one of the days gets doubled up and the other day gets missed, and that's okay because that same number of stories is still being shared. That went away.
Am I here?
You're here, we just can't see you.
So do we need another motion as to how much further we're going into our expectations? Or is it something that we want to? Go ahead, Krista.
I don't think that we need like a motion, but that's just me, and I'm less formal like that. But I feel like it's going to be more authentic. It's going to feel more relatable and personable if, for instance, I'm reading it and I see a story that I'm like, oh, I can connect with this, or I relate to this, or I think somebody needs to hear this, and then I decide to share, versus being every Tuesday my day. And then it feels more like a chore, or more like you have to do this. And I feel like the work is not about checking boxes and saying, I did this thing. It's about like, how can I apply this work to my everyday life in whatever that form, whatever that looks like. So I personally would be in favor of, like we were saying, not having it be this like formal thing, but just, you know, maybe make a commitment to share a couple, however many stories over the month, whatever it looks like. But I just don't love the idea of every Tuesday I have to share this thing kind of thing.
Okay. Which is why I asked the question, are we not going to assign days, you know, because that's where it sounded like we were going, you know. And to that end, you know, I think that, and again, I hope you can see that I'm open to, you know, ideas here, is do we, are we not going to commit to ensure that all these stories get shared? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but a strong possibility. And so are we okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I agree with Carissa's point about connecting with the story and having it be a more authentic version of amplifying news stories, and less about a checkbox, and showing up to do the work can mean so many different things. But I think that it's okay if on the 15th, 5 of us share that story because it all meant something to us, and on the 16th, maybe that story doesn't get shared. Maybe one of us decides to share every single day's worth of stories, but that we all do it in a way that we are comfortable doing it and that we are able to show up and do it.
I'm okay with that too. Agree with Carissa and Sabora. I think I was trying to say this, but you guys said it much better, so I'm okay with it.
And should we perhaps make sure that the link to the stories are available on our website, so at some point we can let people know this is where this information is coming from, you know, so that others can pick and choose whatever day, or when they just happen to hit our website, or maybe they'll hit our website because they saw something from us, you know, where they go to it. Okay? All right.
Second to that, I was looking at last year's Native American History Month. We had guest speaker Eliza Davis, who was the Director of General Services at the Tulalip Tribe, and she was probably one of my favorite guest speakers that we've had. And so potentially arranging for an Indigenous voice to be our guest speaker, to make sure that we're diversifying how we're amplifying.
Thoughts?
I was wondering about the guest speakers. What's the protocol or plan or idea for guest speakers?
It was kind of a passion project of mine. I was doing a lot of the organizing behind it, not necessarily finding everybody, but putting it out there and kind of funneling it. So I'm not sure if from here on out it becomes a vice chair responsibility or that it continues to be mine. I'm happy to do it as well. But really what was happening was that I or other people in the commission were finding people within our community that we wanted to come and talk to us about a variety of things. It could be a business owner, a religious leader, an Indigenous voice. We had the superintendent for the Edmond School District, all sorts of a variety of people. And we did it about once every other month. And so the agenda items, because if we were doing it consistently every month, agenda items were just getting pushed back further and further. And so it's been kind of on pause within the last 6 months or so, partially to try and catch up on some of the agenda items, and partially just because the meetings certainly have not been as reliable.
Comments? Go ahead. You know, I think that you know, all the things she said are absolutely correct in terms of, you know, why they were put off. And I think that, you know, going into the future here, the thing that we have to keep in mind or keep in sight is, you know, when we have guest speakers, what is that going to do to our meeting, for the stuff that we're trying to get done? And then hopefully what I'd like to see happen with any guest speakers that we have, that we come out of this, out of that night with some better clearer ideas of what it is that the individual is talking about and how we as a commission can utilize that information to help the city. You know, what happens afterwards, you know, even if it means nothing more than us making comments, you know, so people can understand what did the commission get out of this speaker that's helping the city, you know, because that's why we brought the speaker here. And so I think but I thought it was all being funneled, personally, I thought it was all being funneled through like the education committee or whatever, and, you know, all those different speakers. You know, I just knew that we had speakers, so we probably should clarify, you know, how that process is going to work, you know, how often we want it to be in place so that we can have it appropriately, but at the same time, not keeping us from doing business. You know, not keeping us from doing business.
Since this just came up, why don't we bring this up in our next meeting and kind of finalize? It'll give us some time to think about it. Unless you have to decide right here today.
Well, I think that, I know the point is that do we want a speaker here for November meeting, you know, from Native American Month? You know, what else do we want to do for Native American Month? And I think that if that's a possibility, we should discuss it.
Yeah, that we should definitely do.
Yeah, we should discuss it, and, you know, and then perhaps, I know since you got a connection, you know, what would the conversation be about? You know, I mean, it's something you can work out or whatever, so that, but if we feel that we should have a speaker for Native American Month, then we probably have that discussion, and if we have that discussion, have that vote on it so that we can make sure it happens in November, because if we wait till November, it ain't gonna happen in November.
I move that we bring a speaker in for November in honor of Native American History Month.
Then, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second. I just couldn't really hear.
So how do you know what you're seconding?
Because I'm assuming that you said that we want a speaker. I hope that's what I'm seconding.
Okay, all right. I'm just picking on you because you're way over there down the street. So it's been motioned and seconded, you know, with that we have a speaker for to recognize Native American Month. We're ready to vote. All in favor? Raise your hand. So pass, and so I'm gonna ask who wants to take on that responsibility of finding a Native American speaker.
Can I nominate Sabura?
I'll do it. I'm happy to do it. I want to establish that, one, I'm not retaining control over anything.
Mm-hmm.
That if I'm carrying on with, you know, kind of being the point person for speakers, which I'm happy to be, I'm not robbing somebody else of that, not necessarily responsibility, but of that role within our commission. The last thing I want is to control anything within
like I said, I didn't even know what, I thought that you all, like you, Alvaro, and your committee, because I wasn't in the committee, so I didn't, you know, I just showed up with speakers. I didn't know what the process was. I didn't know if other people brought stuff to y'all and y'all vetted and did your thing, you know, so.
So, yeah, I'm happy to find someone for next month, and then we actually already have somebody for January. December would be good. I had a Zoom meeting with Carrie Matau. She is the CEO of the Community Foundation of Snohomish County, and she does a lot of DEI work, and does a lot of interviewing of people within communities in Snohomish County, honestly, to determine how they spend their grant money. So it would be really beneficial for us to know her and the foundation, but I think that she would also benefit from a lot of the ideas we have, and having her here and giving her those ideas may end up benefiting the community as a whole, and then we have an eye on our community and the needs of our.
And that's nice for January because it's like, we all start over, get like a refresh.
Right. got that taken care of. Do we feel that there's anything else that we should be doing for Native American Month in November?
Does,
think that, sorry, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I just was wondering if or no, yeah, I guess if the city ever like promotes things that the library is doing, because I would assume that Snow Isle would be doing some type of something for Native American Month. Is that something that the city can make a post about?
I could hardly understand what you were saying.
Usually the library will highlight different, occasions, months, et cetera, and so highlighting what they're doing may help promote that awareness.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, sometimes, you know, highlighting other people's work, you know, amplifies, you know, everybody. We have to be the creators of everything. You know, we just gotta know that stuff is going on and then help it.
I remember that, learning about the proclamations, that the land acknowledgements that are made, and they're gaining steam and happening in the beginning of more and more meetings, which I think is wonderful. But the act of the Indigenous people is that you don't just say the words. You believe them and you act within them. And so perhaps we host a cleanup day for the city, right? We care for the lands that we're living on, that we're acknowledging are the lands of these Indigenous people, and we show care for it in some way, shape, or form. I find that cleaning can be the easiest one that everybody can participate in.
Is there someone, I thought I saw something somewhere, it might have been, is the city planning something in November for a cleanup day? Or did I just read it somewhere? I might have been
It
wrong.
might have been September.
Happened recently.
For volunteer, National Volunteer Service Day on 9/11. The city and the school department, and then they usually do one in the spring and April for Earth Day.
Okay, I mean, I thought, you know, Steve, you know, with the council, would that be something that could be presented as a question to the council, to be involved in helping to sponsor something like that?
Certainly, we won't meet the first and third, this is a 5-month Monday, so we're not meeting again until we're in.
Okay. Right.
What I would suggest is these are the times where maybe you remember there are other groups that are invested in these outcomes.
Yep. ARC, yep.
And they put together, you go on this room, and they'll put together the racism is trash. Here's an example,
Right.
extension of the concept, more grassroots. It's slow, government is slow for a reason. So to pivot this quickly is really difficult, versus this grassroots, where you put a name to it as a co-sponsor. That's probably more realistic. And then have a bigger plan. That'd be my response. You bring it to us, but we want to put that strength.
Yeah, right. I'll be there.
They have their own infrastructure. Interesting enough, there are packs, so it might be a good thing to reach out to other commissions and see if they're interested or planning to do anything. Your best bet anytime with the council is to invite us and see who shows up.
Sure, okay. Oh, good point. And when you was mentioning that, Sobora, I couldn't think of, the Ivy League, because they do that like, almost every Saturday, and the idea of like something, and that I think we participated in that that racism is trash thing, that was a nice turnout.
I mean, ideally, we send it to all of the commissions and the Parks and Rec. I think they should be involved, the Arts Commission, like, out there to everyone and really get as many people involved as possible.
I mean, I think we've got a process right now in place with the Ivy League. Maybe we reach out to them, and as well as to the different commissioners and boards, and because I know they've had other things that they attached to what they were already doing that got more people out to help them do things. So, that's a thing that we can. Yeah. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Got a bunch of cardboard I gotta bring over there. Saturday. So I will this Saturday go over and talk to the Ivy League, and personally ask them, could we incorporate, a Saturday with them, regarding if you can give me what you just said in words, so that I'm not ad-libbing. And,
sorry, Chris is having a hard time hearing this side of the table, so I'm catching her up on text while we're talking.
And then maybe we will also, put a request out to the different commissions and boards, once we talk to Ivy League on Saturday, on who wants to join us, into different MLTR, and put it out there and see what we can get for an audience to help get involved. Okay?
So on calendar, Friday, November 25th, the day after Thanksgiving, is National Native American Heritage Day. I was looking at my calendar to see, and I'm booked every Saturday and weekend in November. But Friday the 25th is a day for honoring Native American heritage. That matters to the group.
It doesn't, again, that doesn't connect us with the Ivy League, and accessibility for cleaning up. So, but that's not saying that we don't do anything, but that's why we're asking the question, what do we want to do? Do we need to do more, et cetera, or do we just want to amplify? Or, one of the things I had written down was, I think that, was it the Moon Festival? I didn't know anything about the Moon Festival. First I heard about it was this year. I talked to my chiropractor, who told me it's the second biggest event on the Chinese calendar. So I just put a message out, I think on the MLT community, does anybody know of any Moon Festivals that are going to happen? And I think I heard of two things. So maybe, again, this is an opportunity to find out what's going on out there that we could, support by endorsing or whatever, that's already going on, and then the voice too, if they want us to. Are we ready to move past Native American Month?
So.
Okay. I'm going to turn this meeting over to Carissa and Sabora for chair comments.
Yeah, I'm not coming super prepared. I do want to say that I appreciate the tribute that you gave earlier, Steve, because I do think that sometimes doing this work, it's hard to see the forest through the trees, right? Like it's hard to sometimes take a step back and look at what has been accomplished or look at what has been changed, because there still is so much work to do. And so I appreciate you giving us that space to kind of take that step back. And obviously anything that Sabora or I did was not because of us, it was because of all of the commissioners in the room and those not in the room as well. So I am very proud of and everything that we have accomplished, because when you put it out like that, I'm like, oh yeah, we did do some stuff. So, so thank you for that.
Or anything you want to share? Well, just
I'm a little caught off guard here. I don't know what's happening.
First of all, we thought that y'all was going to chair this meeting. And then,
Yeah.
we were just like, it was anything that because you never had opportunity to say anything because, we didn't have that venue to speak when things changed over when we transitioned. And, so I don't want to put you on the spot, okay?
I echo what Carissa said. Thank you for all of your words. It's nice to know that it helps to feel seen sometimes. The work is not for being seen, but it definitely helps to feel seen, to reinvigorate those energies put towards the work again. I will say that Carissa is a hell of a leader, and I am honored to have worked with her. I have learned so much from her, and continue to do so. I agree that literally nothing that I did was really, from me. It was the work of the commission came together, and sometimes my name got put on it, and I got, the credit for it, but I don't think that was fair at all. This continues to be such a well-oiled machine, this commission, and through every commissioner that has moved on, whether they moved out of the city or their term ended, I still think about some of the stuff that Gary imparted with us. Alvaro is, I feel like, a huge hole is missing, but so much new worth and ideas comes from our new commissioners, and the more commissioners come in, the more we grow and the stronger we get. And so I leave you with, the work is hard and tedious and sometimes makes you want to give up, but it's worthwhile, and from what I can tell today, reaches more deeply than I think we realized.
Alrighty. I guess from this chair, the only other stuff that I had written down was, I think we got another opportunity, to amplify the fact that the city is looking for a deputy city clerk. It's on the city manager's website. People can click the link. I think that we should take advantage of that if we can, and make sure that message gets out, so that, as many people who think they might be qualified to at least put their hands up and look at what the job entails, may have an opportunity to, get themselves interviewed.
When does that post close?
I'm not sure when it closes, but I do know there's only one applicant at this time. Usually they're up for a couple weeks.
Usually up to 3 weeks.
So again, opportunity, I think. Also, the 2023 diversity calendar, I'm looking for that. I'm gonna get with Ricky. Obviously it'll be posted on our website, but I think in December, we've got to be prepared. We got to be looking at that and be prepared to be thinking about what are we doing in 2023 with whatever's there. I don't want to wait until February to start looking at the diversity calendar and say, because like Ricky said, she needs, advance notice about things that she's going to help us out with, and that 2023 calendar, is what's going to help us in terms of direction. And the other thing that I'm asking from all of us is to be thinking about, what it is that, you want to do, What do you want to do? What is your passion? I keep, I went back and looked at our original, some of our minutes from the beginning, I think it was November minutes, December minutes about 2020. And it was like a page and a half of things that we came into the room and, on Zoom and talked about, different things that was important to us, I think that if we go back and revisit some of those things, maybe we can see some things that we can chip at, little things. But those little things, becomes a chain, that can keep a wheel rolling. And, so I want you to think about some of the things that you want to do and, share them with all of us. Think about what it is you want to do. Share that with all of us. Things that you hear about, share that with all of us. So that we can get ideas and we can do what we did today. We can have some good round discussion meetings, conversation, and then come to a conclusion with an actionable event that we can move forward with. Okay?
Quick thought on that. Maybe we can have that in one of our meetings as an agenda item, just for us, because some of us were not there when that discussion happened. And it's also, I think, almost 2 years now, so maybe people have renewed
Well, what I'll
interest.
do is I'll ask Jennifer.
No, I'm done.
Maybe get it out, pull up from there. I can get it to you. We can all look at it. Just a reminder. Sometimes it's not a bad idea, to go back in the attic and see the stuff that that was important to you 2 years ago, Commissioner's Corner. Anybody got anything they want to share as far as activities review?
Oh, I made a list. So, talking about land acknowledgements and moving forward with that is, I noticed that I was listening to a city council meeting recently, and the city of Mountlake Terrace City Council does not have a land acknowledgement or a labor acknowledgement on the meeting, before the meetings start. Neither does Linwood or Briar. Edmonds does, Kenmore does, and as I was researching the labor acknowledgements are less common on city councils or in public spaces. The Seattle Colleges has one, and Highline College has one, and it was it was referenced at the University of Chicago. And so I have a lot of printouts and a lot of samples and things, and it's some tips about not romanticizing or politicizing or grandstanding, but it's acknowledging and in making strides to and this is how we're honoring and respecting that.
Are you asking the DEIC tonight to ask the city council to consider the beginning of their meetings to have a land and labor acknowledgement?
After as much thought and effort has gone into other discussions this evening, I'm wondering if I should suggest that our group add this to our agenda for November. I was researching, and the first 3 meetings for here, the minutes of this committee does not reflect in 2020 a land acknowledgement, but January 2021 there was, and the minutes don't reflect a discussion making that decision happen. I noticed that. Oh, it went off again.
Well, actually, probably the minutes it didn't wind itself into the minutes, but I remember there was a discussion about it, and I can't remember if there was a vote or not, but I remember there was a discussion about it before it actually happened.
On that, quick question to Steve. Steve, was that ever considered by the council? Considered, voted?
4 years, it's never come up.
Well, if the commission isn't prepared as a group or the quorum here to put that ask forward, then we can wait till November. But if we're not,
So I've made 2 motions already, if anybody else wants to.
I motion to propose to city council that a land and labor acknowledgement be included in all of the city council meetings.
and I second that. Motion, second. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Great. So we'll get that message out to them. It's in the minutes. Anybody else got any, thank you. Anybody else got any, activities review that they want to share?
I have,
I read in MLT News that the, city council is considering joining the Mayor's Public Safety Coalition. And I was wondering if anyone else in this room had read that and had any thoughts about it, and if it would be an appropriate discussion for our organization to have, to provide input on, our commission to have, to provide input to the city council from a DEI lens.
Did not see that.
Okay.
I did not see that.
and I don't, is there more information available? I wouldn't feel comfortable like recommending something before I have more information about it. And there, it was very vague.
Yeah, I think that, at this stage of the meeting, that is information that we need to have in front of us before we are prepared to discuss if we want to. Yeah, I think I saw a glimpse of it, but I'm not really sure what's going on with it.
There's been discussion from the city council members about adding, about spending ARPA funds. And I was wondering if there's anything in the process for with our commission, how to use them.
Well, that's been going back and forth for some time now. I think there was, there's been some informal recommendations. I don't know if there's ever been any formal recommendations from the DEIC to the council about ARPA. I think the short answer to that is no from the DEIC commission.
What is our process for connecting with other commissions? So another article recently was talking about Veterans Memorial Park and art and water feature, and then talking about signage. And one of the first things I noticed when I interviewed for the DEIC is that none of the signs in Mountlake Terrace are multilingual. And that was the same week that I was taking my daughter up to Mount Vernon, and I spent a lot of time in the Mount Vernon County Park. They have beautiful signs in English and Spanish about activities and about a story and just information about childhood development. And I'm guessing that that is a county park or a grant that funded those. They're beautiful, and I would love to see that in Mountlake Terrace. In a future meeting, or how do we connect with other organizations to add that? I'm sorry, I've been a little unclear about how the process is.
Okay. I think that a lot of the questions that you're asking, are opportunities for us to decide how we, and please feel free to jump in, folks, how opportunities for us to decide, who to connect, how to connect, and what to connect about. And, clearly, stuff like that, is legwork's gonna need to be done as to who, what, and where, like who puts the signs up, who bought the signs, where'd the money come from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's something that's gonna be in the minutes, and we can have conversations, before, during, and after meetings to figure out how, who and what's gonna go do some legwork, because that's what's gonna take legwork.
And that would be good to get in those conversations before decisions are finalized, rather than like update plans that already exist. That's a different process.
Just along those lines, I think we've had some discussions about having welcome in different languages in the city hall. We've had multiple discussions. I don't know where we stand on that, and we don't need to get into that today and here, but that's something that we've talked about previously.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember that one. We've talked about that recently.
Yeah, we've talked about that multiple times.
So I'm noticing that equity suggestions and subcommittee check-ins are not on the agenda. Is that just for this month, or is that okay? Because usually equity suggestions are, so that list is super appropriate for that agenda item, and so then I looked and I was like, wait, that's missing.
Yeah.
And so subcommittees were really valuable, in each individual committee identifying stuff exactly like this, and then being able to meet without having to have a public meeting and do a lot of that background questions and then connecting with other commissions, et cetera. And as long as there's only 3 or less of you, then you can make those connections and build that work behind the scenes.
I think that what, you know, and the reason why it's not on there, because it was like 17 items on the list and whatever. So, but, you know, I think to get you up to snuff on some of these questions that you're having as to how to, you know, to Sabor's point, you know, maybe 3 of us can sit down and chat, you know, to answer some of those questions. Then figure out where you want to fit in with one of the committees. Okay.
November's really full, but November 20th is Transgender Awareness Day of Remembrance. It is not an item that's on our calendar, but for 2023, I would encourage the board to add that to the.
And that's why that 2023 calendar, diversity calendar, is important to have by December, so we can look at it and see what's missing. What's missing, you know? All right, let's move on. How about any DEI wins or tributes?
I have a DEI win. Our chair of our DEI committee helped organize a deliverance of proclamations to businesses around Mountlake Terrace to acknowledge the work that they're doing and their presence in the community and ensuring that, you know, we are delivering the message that we appreciate and acknowledge their presence.
The other DEI wins.
I think one more, this is kind of old, but it was never brought up. The mission statement was put together, and it's up on the website, thanks to Ricky. I think that's a win also.
It's also on the agenda. I think it's important that we don't forget, you know, what we're doing here. That's why it's on the bottom of the agenda. Okay. The only other, any other DEI wins, tributes? Only other thing that I want to, the 2 things I want to add is in addition to what happened with Hispanic Historical Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, was also done, the DEI activity was also done with the city council members. You know, they allowed us to do the proclamation. We had Alvaro read the proclamation September 6th, October 6th, or whatever, I think it was October 6th, they accepted the invitation from the DEI to participate and go out and visit these businesses, and then they did it. You know, to me, that's a DEI win because it wasn't done before. And the other thing is I want to point out with the MLT police, Detective Megan Sheets has been promoted to sergeant, first female sergeant promoted in the city of Mountlake Terrace. City of Mountlake Terrace has 28 officers. Right now, the 35% of those officers represent 1 black officer who's in the academy right now, 4 Asians, 1 Hispanic, and 4 females. You know, so that's 35% of the police population, and it wasn't like that 5 years ago. So I think that's a DEI win.
I'd like to add one more. The University of Oregon has started a program called the Home Flight Scholars Program. It was introduced on Indigenous Peoples Day on October 10th, and they are saying that it's a program available to eligible Native American students in which their tuition is covered to be able to attend University of Oregon. Yeah. I think that's huge.
Fantastic. I'll turn over to Steve.
59, you still have your end at 9 o'clock clause.
I want you to do your thing.
So a couple of things I want to revisit on your list. And the first one is to remind you that all meetings are open meetings. It means you have every right to show up. In those same meetings, they usually, I can't speak for all of them, I haven't been to all of the commission meetings, but they should have a public comment section. So even if you weren't recognized as a fellow commissioner, you would still have that time to introduce, hey, have you thought about? Tied to that, I just want to remind you all, you know, and we celebrated the uniqueness of the experience you're having. You're the first. It's been a long time since anybody can say that on a commission in Mountlake Terrace. But along with that, you also are asking the city to live up to expectations that may or may not have been in place, let alone enforceable. And by enforceable, I mean you all bring it up again and say, hey, did that happen? Because believe you me, things go in cycles, and whether you were here there for 20 years or 20 days, you can go, but did that actually happen? That happens quite a bit because a lot is covered. But what I'm really trying to point out to you is that you're also asking the commissions to do something different. I've never seen the commissions interact. That's when I was on the library board and it was sunsetted and no one batted an eye. I made a joke about the nameplates, but believe you me, I remember not getting a name for being on RPAC and not being on the library board, a name tag, but other commissions did. And that's not to say neither here nor there, it's just kind of recognizing this as an evolution as well. So what you're asking potentially them to do is not something they've done before, which doesn't mean they haven't wanted to, it's just no one's been able to do that. In doing that, I want to point out the obvious third one, which is that the way I'm phrasing this, it puts the burden on you. You go to their meetings. No, your meeting is open too. You can send an invite through our city clerk to invite them. Hey, please show up. We're on Zoom, right? So this, in the spirit of not adding more hours to your day, you can invite them to your flow as well. But the fourth one, which Commissioner Dean pointed out very well, which is you can go talk to these folks, just not as a quorum. And you're not talking city business, which means if you have somebody who's on the commission, even if it's one person, talk to that person, and that person carries your story forward. But again, just kind of reminding ourselves that all of this is new. So when I say that we don't have a land acknowledgement, we don't have what I would say is a black labor not acknowledgement, which is, we called it the black labor when I was at Edmonds College. So I did get it there, interesting enough, I never thought to bring it here. Frankly, because we go much longer than you all do, and I just think to myself, that's a lot more time added on. That's where my lens is. But as I'm listening to you, I go, actually, maybe it is important. As you pointed out, or I think you pointed out, there's only 2 cities that are doing it now. There's a lot of cities in Snohomish County, which is, again, saying this is new. But, you know, that's an expectation you could hold us to. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but if you don't ask us to have that conversation, even when folks are committed to it and have done it in other spaces, it doesn't always come to mind. Right, so owning my part in that process. I've had 4 years to bring this up, and I've been with you this whole time, and no point did it ever cross my mind to have them, the council, do this, because I just have my reasons for that. But nonetheless, it's kind of reminding you that you are in a very powerful position, even as you're growing as a commission itself. That is not my report, that was my reminders. So as a report, a lot has happened since we began, and one of the things I want to point out is I'm very sad that we don't have an executive session for you all, for what I would really like to share with you all. But we're neither here nor there, and I'm going to just walk around the edges of that like I feel like I've been doing every time I'm in this room. But that's just out of respect for privacy. But know that if you ever wondered what the hell you were doing on this commission, you lived it literally one day not too long ago. And I will just say that we have been nothing but online together until that day, and I pushed some of you to remind you that you were grown folks and can talk to grown folks, and thankfully you did that. You didn't do it because you felt like a grown person, it's because you felt a connection to what was going on, which again is part of that, but at the end of the day, I stand firm that this would be a very different world right now if we hadn't had that meeting in person that day. And I want to acknowledge your professionalism of allowing me to talk around the edges and yourselves never talking about it, because that too, believe it or not, is huge. And it's not something we can get into, but just recognize that you all have shown a level of professionalism that has not gone unnoticed. It just unfortunately has to go unacknowledged outside of private moments where if you welcome the conversation, I'm happy to have it with you. That said, I'm deeply honored to now, although it's at the end, formally introduce you to our, it says acting city manager, but believe you me, Mr. Stephen Clifton has saved this friggin' city. We have so many damn openings, as do other cities, but he has all but personally gone into his history and people he's worked with and found solid people who are doing amazing work for this city. And that's including honoring the people who are already here and helping them through a process. Mind you, I think they're all friends, which is the whole other layer that no one can acknowledge of just like, how do you do that when you have friends? I'm equally as honored to introduce you to your new city clerk, not acting, but the actual city clerk, who probably has the craziest job on the planet because of the person of the creator of a hole that was created and her leaving. But as far as I'm concerned, the other day I realized, holy smoke, this is the second time I haven't looked around for Virginia, and it's because you're doing such an amazing job. But under the circumstances in which to have that happen, when you also have other very top positions in institutional knowledge, we all work in institutions, so you can imagine the who has come and gone. As much as the love that you want to show the people coming, there's a whole lot that's out that window. That again, from a city perspective, know that we are still a city in very good standing with a number of people, but these two who are with us right now. So that's part of the updates on you. Other parts that are affecting your city that, in the spirit of things that you're reading in MLT News and not necessarily hearing about consistently, is we did pass the multifamily tax exemption. I was only disappointed in the lack of public feedback, which is always the case. And I'm not sure how to change that, other than just to remind people that, hey, we're out here trying to make the best decisions that we can. I'm really happy that we have commissions that we report to that keep us kind of a little bit bigger than the 7 of us on that dais. But that's a huge potential change to this city because it's set up to spur investment and growth, particularly around housing. So it is contained to the city limit, or excuse me, the town center. I'm missing a word there. The town center. But know that that decision is designed to start to officially change what you consider the future. It's now, right? And our understanding is builders have been waiting for us to make that decision. Now that it's in place, we should start seeing some action. So I would just say keep that in mind. Very much tied to that is we are starting the budget process. You may remember that from last year. It's a very long process, a very drawn-out process, all for reasons, good reasons in my opinion. But again, going back to this idea of not having much input from our residents, who are our residents, and that is my invitation to you all to, if you have ever been interested in the city council meetings, this is the time to really get interested. The calendar is online, so you can actually see when we're talking about things. You'll see that we probably have the next 6 months mapped out, if not more. But you can kind of see, well, I'll come to that one, maybe not this one. But that is impacting you in terms of how the budget will be spent. Know that on the table is still getting you all your own budget, right? Whether that's through the formal budget or the ARPA monies, is still to be determined. But know that that hasn't fallen by the wayside. But there's my little self-investment of like, if you wanted to hold on to something, because we will talk about sewers, we'll talk about all these other budget lines. But that's one that you should be interested in because it's going to, increase your purchase power and it's your dynamic in general once you actually have money. That is, in essence, new as well. People have had access to money in the commissions, but that will be very new in the sense of having a formal line, or at least it'll be new and sunsetted for some time. And then the last thing that I will share is in the spirit of excellent hires. We have hired on, thank you, a new person out of Linwood who's going to be working with us part-time, but one of the tasks is to help the council figure out how to structure the ARPA money. We have had 2 for sure groups come through and make an actual formal ask, but then you also have had, as you've pointed out, let me just off the screen, we pointed out that we talked about it a lot. And so the council is feeling more pressure to actually do something and make some decisions. And so we will keep that process as open as possible, but yet another reason to say, hey, come to the Monday or the Thursday meetings, especially if you see it's on the calendar. And hopefully the person says yes. He helped Linwood structure how they spend their ARPA money, so it should be in his bailiwick, if you will, which will be helpful to us. And outside of that, unless you have some questions for me, I would say MLT News does a really good job of recounting what we're doing. Your question about us having the conversation was the same one you had, which is we didn't know much about it, so we said, well, we need to learn more about it, and then we'll go from there. I'm not at liberty to say what I feel about it, but welcome to ask me offline. Outside of that, unless you have some questions for me, I will say that was about 9 minutes.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Steve?
I have one. So at a meeting a few months ago, I actually can't even remember when, we had talked about, portraying art on the pillars that are coming through for the light rail. Is that something that's been acknowledged as something that could be spent, ARPA money could be spent on it?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question and a complicated answer, but the one little nugget I could throw is that's tied in loosely, although you can make it more firm, with the Veterans, it's not Veterans Plaza. It's the plaza that's going to be right outside of light rail. So I would say that's where the discussion right now is. I think that's going to the Arts Commission, though, to help.
I heard that probably about a week or two ago. You know, I don't forget who brought the question up or where it was, but that's what I heard. It's an Arts Commission conversation.
Yeah, this is last meeting. We as a council were trying to decide, much like you were doing, should we do something or not? And it was between water feature or artwork. That's the closest I've come to us having a conversation. And I have a personal thing. I want a map, which is a longer discussion. But it's to say that there's still room for that discussion, but I think that's going to, I think the Art Commission is going to help us with that. Am I misrepresenting that? I think that was my interpretation.
That's correct. I'm wondering what pillars you're referring to.
The light rail is actually gonna ride on those big cement pillars, as well as all the cement walls in that.
Electrical wires?
No, the actual light rail, like, pathway itself and the.
Because underneath that, all that orange is a piece of art. All those metal fins are branches of a tree, all that's going over the street. And that is artwork incorporated into the underside and along the side of the station.
Okay.
On both sides. And then the stacks themselves, those are the elevator shafts, or those are, or escalators. Those are just orange panels. And then, like Steve said, the Gateway Plaza, which is the southwest corner of that intersection where you enter the transit station, that's going to be a plaza where you can sit. And then Jeff went to the Arts Commission to talk about art, and also went to the council to talk about art or water feature on that plaza.
Okay.
And they want to spend about, I think, $100,000 on that.
The one thing I will add, that I just forgot. It was actually an indigenous artist that's with the artwork that's going over the freeway, if you will, to keep it above grade.
Okay.
But Sound Transit, I think, ran that whole process of how they selected and the themes and all that. But period of next month, it's like, well, that's actually huge. That will be our first sanctioned. I've seen it. I knew what it was, but you can't really tell that that's artwork yet until it all comes together.
So as far as the remaining structural foundational pillars that exist within the city limits, is there anything that we have authority or power over as a city to say, like, so my husband and I were actually having a conversation as we were driving, and we said, it would be so cool as you go from city to city to be able to identify, oh, we're in Mountlake Terrace because the pillars or the train, right, looks a certain way, has a certain color or pattern or picture or whatever it might be. And then when you move over to Northgate, that's a little bit different, Shoreline's different, and then you just keep going on, and all of it just becomes this chain of artwork representing each individual area.
I like that idea, but it's too late.
Yep, okay.
Town Transit held public meetings where they have to spend a certain percentage of art at each station.
Okay.
The pillars themselves, they don't do anything with except leave those as concrete. And so they take money that's dedicated to art and they apply it and attach it and design each station with certain art. And that's where they put their art dollars.
Then if we, as the city of Mountlake Terrace, said we want to put art on the pillars, is that up to Sound Transit to say yes or no?
We'd have to go to them. I mean, this might be worth discussing
Yeah.
with Town Transit.
Okay.
But yeah, Town Transit would have the final say.
Got it.
Maybe it's something that we could, invite someone from Sound Transit to attend the meeting for a short period of time to have that discussion with, so they can kind of tune us in to, what we can or can't do, and, or hear what we would like to be done, and then they can tell us what they can or can't do.
Yeah.
They can actually attend the meeting without someone having to go spend a whole lot of phone time trying to have conversations with one individual. Yeah, just get a name of who we can, like, okay?
Council ask the DEIC to help, promote your messages and requests for public input?
Yeah, I mean, also just do it.
As a private citizen, you can just do it,
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but as a commission, could the city council
Yeah, no,
ask
we
us
would, no, I
to
didn't
do
mean to
that
sound
as a
flippant
job?
if I sounded flippant, no, I mean, we would welcome it, I mean, it's not from lack of trying,
Right.
we think, oh, this is gonna bring in everybody, and then it's crickets, and
Yeah.
everybody interested, you're like, really? So it's hit or miss, but yeah, we would welcome any feedback, or assistance in getting the word out. And I felt that way about your meetings as well, especially when you had Chris Collier come. It's like, you literally had this fire online going on, metaphorically had this fire going on, and none of those people showed up to the man who could answer the damn questions.
Well, one of them did to have public comment and then left before he started talking.
Yeah, got what they needed and bounced. Thank you, I was trying not to be petty.
Sorry. Patty McPederson over here, we'll take care of it.
Yes is the short answer. How that gets done, I don't know, because it's not trying. The city, you have somebody out there trying to do well in advance, it is in many ways as possible. It's the same thing, and we have more ways to get engaged now. So we thought, oh, that's why we have the Zoom still going. We invested in, there's literally somebody who runs it professionally for us, so we have, quality experience and a handful of people show. But yeah, we would welcome that. Yeah, so hopefully people are accessing the recordings.
Thank you. I have one.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
On the screen, I just noticed you'll probably be seeing my phone lit up for quite a while on that lower one. You'll probably see a bright light, but that relates to, I was just looking at the Association of Washington Cities, and to answer your question, the position is open till filled, that's the deputy city clerk, and
I'm sorry.
the deputy city clerk position's open till filled.
Okay.
And, our first review is on November 7th.
That's good to know, because then it gives the people a timeline to know when they need to plan to have it. Yeah.
On the AWC website, but I noticed it was showing on the screen for quite a while. Probably just think I'm scrolling.
Oh, yeah, seeing you, yeah, I can see you, yeah.
Okay, with that, I think that, we've covered a lot. We've got some things planned for the month of November. Appreciate the thought talk that went into, what we decided to do. This is how we get things done, and I'm looking forward to more conversations like we had today, and, don't have to wait. We all should know that we don't have to wait till the third week of the month to ask for questions, about how things need to be done or how it can be done. We've got resources throughout the city, one-on-one conversations.
I do have a question, Stephen. This group hasn't done the annual, mobility at all. You can do that. Isn't that like that every 2 years or 3 years, or things that enough turnover?
And the city attorney on that.
Yeah, right, where you have not had that conversation about so you were asking the great question about your personal.
First time we got together, yeah.
And you realize how on the mark you are. I was just sitting back quietly, but it's like, yeah, as a reminder, as we're using our phones and all that in these meetings, somebody watching can say, hey, well, I want to know what that was about, which is why Stefan's bringing that up, that he's not here playing Candy Crush, he's looking something up. But, that's an actual training because you're held to it as a public, open public Just
That's why I
remind
just said what I was looking at, the Association of Washington City, so that the people on the screen know
Right,
what I was looking
you
at.
do read about the people in the news saying, hey, he was in the meeting and he was on his phone and playing crazy.
there's an actual cycle that we all have to even get refreshed, and if they can, you might want to speed it up since the two of you haven't had that, and we're now coming together. So just putting that out there, I'm like, I haven't seen that one in a while, I'm not even sure where the council is on that one, I think we're off year now.
Just always use your city issued, is it email or is it?
Yes.
Whatever your officially issued email address is, make sure you just use that for all your commission activities and never use your personal phone for it.
I had to create my own Gmail account. Is that something the city should be doing?
So the city issues official email addresses to, commissioners, council members, et cetera, so that you can use that for commission purposes.
Well, you got one, you got one.
We were asked to make our own.
Create our own, or just use
But
MNC
you say
DEI.
archive, yeah, that makes sense, yeah, that'll work too.
I do now, but I feel like I didn't get onboarded very, very connected because it was during a bunch of staffing changes and Virginia was leaving. And so I've gone through and read old minutes, but I feel, and I know a lot of public meeting rules and regulations and Robert's rules, but I don't know what our principles are. That would be helpful.
If you use your personal phone, the rule is just make sure you use a consistent email address. Everything's, you know, archived, and you can just always go to that to find whatever your documents are, or emails and things like that.
Yeah, we're ready to adjourn. It's been a long night. Appreciate everyone's, participation. All right, thank you. Question?
Officially adjourn yet? You guys make a motion to excuse
We need to make a motion to excuse the adjournment meeting. To excuse who?
Meyer and Doyle?
Yeah, we did.
You did?
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Okay, so now we're officially adjourning the meeting.